Welcome everyone. It is the Tradition Show, and today we have an exciting guest. We have Megan Eddings here and her awesome clothing and lifestyle company. And can you tell us a little bit about that and about your company?
Yeah, so I'm actually rocking one of the tank tops right now.
Perfect.
It's obviously always repping hard. But Accel Lifestyle, I actually invented fabric that doesn't smell no matter how much you sweat. And I was tired of throwing away my husband's workout clothes that stunk. And this is going back, like, time flies, like over 4 years ago. Yeah. And it seems like, sometimes it seems like yesterday, sometimes it seems, you know, like 100 years ago. But so I invented fabric that doesn't stink. It's patent pending in 120 countries. And we officially just launched August of 2019. So we just officially started selling shirts for men and women.
That's congratulations, that's so good.
And you invented your own fabric because you were a nerd, because you used to be a chemist, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's funny, so my husband and I met on a blind date 8 years ago, actually up here in the Heights area. Okay. And one of the first questions, you talk about, like, oh, where'd you go to college, what'd you major in? And so he majored in physics, and I told him chemistry. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nerd love. So basically I used my chemistry background to really just work on, I used two things, my chemistry background to develop the fabric, but I've also been in sales after all my lab work, and so I'm not afraid to ask for help and cold call and just straight up call strangers. So I called a lot of people on the East Coast that are literally yarn and science gurus and scientists. So I got a lot of my information from them too, and they were so kind just to basically tell me all this information about fabric and not charge me $1.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
I sent him a few tips treats. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right.
And your accent, it's a little, it's like South Texas, I'm guessing, like
close to the border of Texas and Rhode Island. So born and raised Rhode Island, and whenever I get really excited, it comes out a little bit. When I have some adult beverages, it comes out. Usually. That's up for you to decide what's going on right now. Right. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm originally from Minnesota, so my accent comes out a little bit.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm going to visit my family soon, so it's definitely going to come out when I come back.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So do you ever catch your husband sniffing the clothes and be like, is it stink or is it?
You know what the funny thing is? He has the worst, it's something like genetic. He has the worst sense of smell. Yeah, so even though I keep telling this whole story, I'm like, oh, my husband's stinky workout clothes, he never really smelled it. Yeah. So even now, he doesn't really smell his clothes, because even if they did, I mean, of course the Accel Lifestyle doesn't stink, but I don't really catch him smelling anything. A, because he only wears Accel. No, he has a worse sense of smell. So
Now he has extra protection. He's like, I don't need to worry about it anymore. His clothes are perfect.
Well, and it's funny, so I tell everyone, I'm like, here's the deal. I can control the way your clothes smell, but I can't control your personal hygiene and your body odor. So you still have to shower, you still have to wear deodorant, but I can just, I can control keeping your garments fresh smelling.
That's truly awesome, and that's an amazing product that you've been able to design. What do you feel was like the key driving force to becoming an entrepreneur? Do you feel like it was really about the need, or is this was kind of like something that you wanted to do ever since you were younger, or?
Yeah, so I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. My parents didn't go to college. I didn't have any entrepreneurs ever in my life, even throughout college. It was all like just science-based and that kind of stuff. Even it's funny, one of my ex-bosses, who's still one of my great friends at Siemens Medical, he took a job like being a North America manager for this company that was trying to bring their product to North America. And he's like, Megan, he's like, I love building things from scratch. I'm like, dude, I thought we were friends. That's crazy. Like, who would ever want to build something from scratch? Just like 10 years ago. And look at me now. The driving force, my husband, he's really, not that he's part of Accel, but just because we're married, we talk about it. But we both realize the value that we can bring to really anything. We have a passion for giving back, and we both work extremely hard. And so even when we first started dating, before we were even engaged, we're like, man, maybe we should start our own company someday and put all of our tools and our skill set to something. Had no idea what that something was going to be. But then basically it was just stinky workout clothes. And this was like 8 months, and I was still doing medical equipment sales. I loved my boss, I loved my job, but I would be sitting in parking lots of hospitals, I should have been prepping for the next meeting to sell, but I'm researching fabric. And so I just couldn't shake that here I am selling these MRI machines for $3 million, yet we don't have apparel that doesn't stink. I couldn't fake, so I'm like, well, let's just see what happens.
There you go.
Dabble in it a little bit.
Wow, that's cool.
And how did you come up with the name Accel Lifestyle?
Sitting on the couch. And honestly, it's funny, like anything they say, like just write down, like any, no such thing as a bad word, just write them all down. So my husband and I were just sitting there and we just wrote down like 100 words. I literally, if we wrote down 100, I couldn't even tell you the other 99. And so we wanted it to be something that's like empowering, community driven, given love, inspiring, but also a little bit of a science base. So the word accelerate, that's like a physics word mostly. And then obviously, to move faster, etc. And so we just shorted accelerate to excel. And I'm like, excel sounds too hard. But I thought, yes, I'm going to be making clothing and apparel, but it's more than that. It's like the mission of giving back and inspiring people. So then just the word lifestyle came. So Accel Lifestyle, short for the word accelerate, like accelerate your happiness, your health, and giving back.
I guess with a little bit of physics too, an object in motion stays in motion.
You got it. Yeah.
And whether it be a person giving continues to give, I like that.
Exactly.
I love that underlying meaning.
So you're an apparel company basically, but
we were.
Yeah, we were. And that's what I kind of wanted to like kind of steer towards.
Yeah.
And then this pandemic of COVID kind of came about, and you came up with masks. And so tell us about that. I mean, it's insane.
It's funny how, and everyone always says, oh, well, not everyone, but I believe this, that every situation that happens in life, you might not realize why it's happening, even if it's really crappy, but years down the road, that's why that happened. So it was really important to me to have everything in Accel Lifestyle apparel, from the thread to the fabric to the sewing, be domestic, no sweatshops, and have everything ethically made USA. People are like, oh, it can't be done. You won't be able to make a profit. And I'm like, oh, it can't be done? Tell me that again. Yeah. So I'll start with that. Then the pandemic happened. And it was the week before March 27th, like March 19th or roughly. I have a fabulous consultant, Melissa. She basically works with creative brands on all creative strategies, and she's just incredible. And so she literally texted me on that Friday morning, and I was up on my computer, like we all do. And she's like, this thing on the CDC, they keep saying hospital workers, if you're running out of masks, just use a bandana, cotton cloth, anything you can find. And because everything's domestically made, all of my Prima fabric, we have fabric here in the States. We had about enough to make 16,000 masks here in Houston, and then enough to make like 90,000 masks in California. But a lot of these companies, like these huge companies that we know, they didn't start making masks for like 2 or 3 months because all their fabric was stuck overseas. So Melissa I will always thank Melissa for putting the seed in the brain, and then we just started rocking and rolling and making masks.
That's awesome. And your masks are incredible because
super comfortable.
They're awesome because
you pass them around.
Suckers. Because when I bought some, they have the pocket in them as well. You can get. Yeah. Because my cousin needed them because she's a doctor, and you're able to put the actual filters in there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's incredible.
Yeah. So we offer our masks either with or without filter. We started with black and white, but now because we're on contract with the military, we have Coyote Tan. And actually, these are some local brands. Tootsie's over on Kirby and Westheimer. They bought hundreds of masks. It's actually the 30th year for Susan G. Komen here in Houston. So they purchased a bunch of masks, and we donated masks as well. So that's their Pink for 30 logo. And then cool. Ellie Francisco is a baller entrepreneur here in Houston. So these are just a few that I brought, but
cool. Yeah, that's incredible. And so you said you have a military contract. Do go on, because I know you've Navy SEALs, or
the U.S. Navy, the Navy SEALs, and Marines. We just got last week 10,000 masks, and it's so funny. Like, geez, 3 years ago, I went to a class on how to get your product on a government contract, because we all know once you're on a government contract, like the money just flies right in. You just kind of sit back and like so I'm sitting in this class taking all these notes, and the lady basically says, to get on a government contract, you have to fill out a stack of paper this big. So then you have to hire someone who's done it before to help you walk through it. Oh, and then by the way, you have to have a product that you've been selling commercially or selling before the government for 2 years. Before the government will even look at you. So obviously I had no government, we just launched in August. So the guy, Jamie, he's awesome. He's the supply chain director for the Navy. He said it's in 28 years with the Navy, it is the fastest order he has ever seen go through. It's 24 hours for 50,000 masks. and I wasn't even on a government contract. I am now. They fast-tracked it. So we're on contract, with the Navy and the Marines. There's all different pockets of the Navy. Someone called me from NCIS. I'm like the TV show?
Dang, so when are you getting on Space Force?
You know, it's funny you should say that. So I've become friends with these guys. I mean, they're guys, like they're all happen to be guys, but like really good friends over the phone. I'm like, when all this passes, like, can I fly out to Virginia and like you put me on a warship or whatever? They're like, yeah. So and then like I'll go to California. I'll bring my husband. He really wants to come to go see the Navy SEALs out there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's like nuts.
Awesome.
All because of like face masks. Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, it needs to be supplied to, so you filled the niche, definitely. So when it comes to your, I guess, business overall, and when it comes to like your daily activities, do you have like a morning routine that you like to stick to, or do you just have every day something new, really?
So as far as like what comes at me every day, it's new every day. Are there things that I know I have to do? Like is the list, like all of us, no matter what, is the list always huge? So there's definitely priority items that my team and I have every day.
Of course.
The moment I wake up, I start working. Like some people, and you read all these books, you're like, oh, I should be doing that. I should meditate for 10 minutes. I should drink my tea under the flowers and hear the birds chirping. No, that would literally bring me anxiety. Like, so, because I also love what I do.
Of course.
No, I go right into work. Coffee is the first thing in the morning. I make a cup of coffee. I used to, before the pandemic, I had these 30 Google alerts that I would read from these baller companies that I aspired to be like the Harvard Business Journal. Yeah. And every morning I would just quickly kind of see what the points are for the day. I haven't done that in 3 months. I just don't have time.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, right. You know what? And I actually...
You're one of those companies.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah. So no, I have to work out, which is funny that I did not... The team laughs. The only working out I did for the first 7 weeks was walking from my front door to our mailbox. I've never not worked out for 7 weeks, but I just had to stay so laser focused. And if I did have free time, I just had to sleep or like watch The Real Housewives or, eat a bagel. I mean, something, I had to do something. I just physically couldn't move. My brain was taking up enough energy.
Well, you have some of those days where it's like, okay, I just need to unwind for a minute and recollect myself so I can prepare for the next day.
Right.
Yeah. When you kind of mentioned it already in terms of like the books, is there anything that you've read recently that you've really enjoyed, or something that you always go back to as a good influence?
Yeah, I always go back to, actually there's a few things. And there's one book that I read probably 5 years ago, and I wish I remembered the name of it. But there was one sentence or so in it that literally carries me through every decision I make. It said, no matter if you make $5,000 a year or $5 billion a year, those people, whoever they are, they still have fears. It's the most important thing is what do you do when you experience that fear? Like someone making $1 bazillion, and it's funny because I was thinking like, oh, if they're making $5 billion a year, what do they have to be fearful of? No, it's losing their $5 billion, or, getting sued. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So for me, whenever I feel like, oh, I can't do this, or oh, that kind of like ego putting a wall up, now I just kind of break that wall down and just keep going. So that's a piece of advice, but NPR, How I Built This, a podcast.
Oh, I love that one.
Literally, it's like the OG of podcasts. Like even when I was still doing medical equipment sales, my territory was Louisiana, so I would drive a lot. And I would just play that. And the first one I ever listened to was Sarah Blakely by Spanx. And her story, and here I am like in the middle of trying to develop my fabric, and she's literally saying like, I lived in Florida, I was a sales rep, I'm trying to design this fabric, I'm flying up to North Carolina, which is literally where my fabric's made. And at the time it wasn't. And she's like, I just kept knocking on the doors and cold calling, and no one would give me a shot because I'm a small company and I'm a woman. And I'm literally driving, I'm like, oh, she's speaking my language. And and then obviously we've all heard of Spanx, and she's just, obviously she's a wonderful person, I believe, and then also she's great at business. And I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. If she can, so I also say that to myself a lot too. Like if she can do it, or referring to anyone, then I can do it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So I have a question for you, and this is
lay it on me, Jesse.
This is kind of going a little off topic. So I've got 2 words for you: TikTok.
Oh Lord.
And this is also bringing it into your team because I started following you months and months and months ago, and it was just you and one doing y'all's dances on TikTok, on Instagram, and then it became like 3, and then it became 4, and then it became like 10.
How many can we fit in one frame?
Yeah. So it looks like your team. And by the way, I love those TikTok videos.
Thank you.
It's incredible. But how many do you have on your team now? Because it seems like you guys are just growing exponentially.
We do. So we literally had 2 people on the team. Amanda Kotler, Director of Operations. She's been part of the team for a little over 2 years. And right now, including all the sewers, about 60.
That's awesome.
About 60 people. Yeah, and it's when I say it out, like, you know, a lot of times people don't take the time to like really think about it. But it is a beautiful feeling to know that without these masks and without us just having this opportunity to give back, that we're able to employ a lot of people as well. Yeah, and the TikToks, that's actually really, so I'm not actually on TikTok because I know I just get sucked right in. But we have a rule, like with the team, like you have to do something, we as a team have to do something fun every day. Yeah. And usually it's a TikTok video. And it's been really cool to see people that, even like some of the guys that, you know, I don't know. You show them that dance, the music goes on, they're like pushing me to the back row, you know. Yeah. So we've been doing that. I even took a step and I'm like, you know what, LinkedIn is like really like business.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna throw a TikTok video up there because really that, you know, you can't just always be working and so serious. I'm like, I'm gonna throw a TikTok video on my LinkedIn. And there's a guy who used to be a baller with the Steve Harvey show, and he actually called me. We had a chat last week. He's like, Megan, that TikTok video on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, you know, everything else I put up there, he didn't even see, but the TikTok was cool. So kind of good to shake things up a little bit. Do you do TikTok? Have you guys done it?
So I've got my little sister and a bunch of other people like that work with me and everything. They keep telling me I need to get on it because I do it on Facebook and Instagram. And they're like, you gotta do TikTok. Like you and your little kid would be
that
awesome.
Would be cute.
So I don't, because I think I'll get sucked into it.
I know. Actually, one of the girls on our team, she's a flight attendant, and she had a 4-hour layover. And she had just downloaded TikTok like the day before, and she's like literally she's like, next thing to my 4 hours is over, and I'm like, yeah, no.
You
I can't.
No, I think I have an account, but I haven't done any TikTok.
You're one of those people that just look around.
Maybe. I don't know. With all the coronavirus stuff, I've dedicated into the business, and that's been the main focus. And I've really been enjoying these interviews that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
To get all the new
and thank you for this opportunity. This is fun.
I'm so happy to. When it comes to, I guess, within your business, was there ever what was the turning point for you that you said, this is gonna be great? Or what was that one spot is like, okay, I can make this could be my lifestyle.
Yep.
What was that moment for you?
It was early on. And it's funny, I was thinking about that before. It was one of 2 things, but another one just popped in my head like really early. So a friend of mine, Tabby, here in town, she just knows everything that's going on. She just knows everything. And on a Friday, she said to me on Monday, they were having a pitch competition over at Station Houston for the French American business group. I never put together a pitch in my life. And I'm like, how many minutes? 20? She's like, 3 minutes, and you need a PowerPoint. I'm like, I stink at PowerPoint. Like, it's all this, I'm like, oh my, and standing in front of a group, and I've never really shared openly what I'm doing. Fabric had not been patented yet. It's just kind of in the beginning stages, but I'd already quit my corporate job. This was happening. And so I will never forget it. I walk in the huge room at Station Houston, whoever's been there, and there is a sea of men. In my mind, there's like a sea of 100 men in suits. And I decided to wear workout clothes. Yeah. Now, I didn't have any samples. I didn't even start making anything yet, but I wore like a cute shirt, sneakers that I painted myself, So, and even like the the people that were pitching, everyone's in a suit. And I'll be honest, I felt insecure. And so I just did. And so anyway, I get up there and I give my 3-minute pitch, and back in the day, I'm like, who here likes stinky workout clothes? Kind of get the audience going. And at the end of it, I'm literally leaving because my insecurity to go walk in the back of the room, cut through the audience just to go in the back, because it wasn't really no one won, but it was cool to just practice pitching, and then people come up to you and ask questions. Yeah. And I remember walking through the audience, and there's 4 people coming, 3 gentlemen and a woman, beautifully dressed, walking towards me, and I literally motioned my body to let them walk by me, because I thought I can almost shed a tear. I thought there's no way they're coming to talk to me. Yeah. No. From then, and an hour and a half later, I was surrounded by people, complete strangers, asking me questions about the fabric, and so they were not walking by me, they were walking to me.
Yeah.
That is when I knew, okay, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
Revolutionary idea.
Yep, that was it.
Not when what's his face mentored you?
Oh, Tillman?
Yeah.
Oh, but then I already knew I had it. No. No, that was like 3 years later.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the Tillman, that was all, I mean, that's been incredible as well. I mean, but they're just, I get excited about all of it, and it's just different. As I'm in different stages of the company, I keep getting these signs that, Megan, you're on to something, like you're on. And I always knew that this fabric would be used for more than, stinky workout clothes, but you got to start somewhere. So I always tell everyone, they're like, oh, I have this idea, I don't really know where to start. I'm like, pick one area, pick one niche market and just go for it. And then it'll blossom from there. And whether it's God or the community or universe, it will, if you're open to it, it will show you where to go next.
Yeah. And so one thing that I really, really just admire about you and your company is, when you first started, you weren't afraid to spend money, like from your pictures to your interviews to everything. Because I remembered, because last time we had talked, like kind of did an interview, you were saying, yeah, I've got a photo shoot, like, tomorrow. And I was just thinking it was like, oh, just, snap. You had like a production, like video and everything. And, that's awesome. And it shows that, you do have to spend money to make money, and that's incredible. Well,
I also learned the hard way. So, it's fun. You fake it till you make it. In the beginning of Accel, it's been self-funded. I have an investor now, but in the beginning, it was self-funded for the first few years. Yeah. I literally would just be like a dude with a camera. Yo, can you do our photo shoot? And so we'd have like a 6-hour photo shoot, and the models and the outfits and the planning, and a lot of work goes behind it. This, where you're gonna go and how it's gonna look. And the photos weren't that good. Yeah. So I got burned a lot. And what's the expression, like you pay for what you get what you pay for. And so so I've had great photographers, videographers here in Houston that I still use, and honestly they become friends.
That's awesome. Yeah.
When we kind of touched on this in the last question in regards to like giving advice to young entrepreneurs or someone that's graduating high school. What piece of advice for young, whether it be millennials or Gen Z, what do you have for them coming into the world of business, whether it be an entrepreneur or seeking another path in terms of
Sure. There's a few pieces of advice, and this is from personal experience. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And like there are going to be questions that you perceive as dumb. I mean, there are some dumb questions, I guess. I don't know. But like all I know is I would call these fabric scientists on the East Coast, and all I knew was how to spell the word fabric. Like I didn't know anything. And so I'd ask questions in a humble, kind way. And I remember my first phone call was with David Sasso with Bueller Yarns, and he now supplies ours to Pima. I'll never forget it. Cold called him. And he gave me all this information, and I'm literally just scribbling it down. So the next phone call where I would cold call someone, I had some words that I could say in the right context. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because no matter how successful somebody is or how successful you perceive them to be, they started not knowing anything at one point in their life. No one just wakes up and all of a sudden they have a $10 million company or a successful restaurant or whatever it is. That's my first piece of advice. Second piece of advice is there are going to be people, sometimes people closest to you in your life, that are not supportive. And they think it's a dumb idea, or whatever it is, and they're just telling you it's not a good idea.
Of course.
And a lot of time that actually has nothing to do with you. It's that person projecting onto you. Like maybe they wish they could do it, but maybe they can't, or they would love to do it, but they're fearful to do it. So there's going to be a lot of people with their opinions around you. And so if it means you have to like gently push out some people that are not supportive out of your life, or just not as involved, trust me, there are so many people that want to help. You gotta get rid of the negativity to bring in the positivity.
Of course. Wow. That's some great piece of advice for all those young people out there, or even older people as well.
Yeah.
People that
No, my mom actually sent me so my mom's back in Rhode Island. She sent me an article. Oh no, she saved it. An AARP article about some guy who started his own company, is now worth millions, and he was like 63. So she's like, see, Megan, anyone can do it. I'm like, I didn't know you thought I was too old to start a company in the first place, but yeah, you're never too old to do something new.
I'm 28, Mom.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's funny. So when it comes to your career and in your business, is there any particular mentor that's stuck out to you, and is there any piece of advice that really resonated?
Like 5 people just popped in my head. I have 2 mentors from it was a business competition sponsored by HCC in New Spring. Actually, there were 3 mentors. Frank Monticelli, Steve Rosenkrantz, and Robert Westheimer. And they were my mentors a couple of years ago in this competition, and they're still mentors today. It's funny, and we're all Facebook friends too, which should be interesting. One of the mentors is kind of a hard ass, to be quite honest. He is, and then the other one is like really kind and think I can do no wrong and I don't need him, but he still has excellent advice. And so it's been nice to get feedback from people that have just all their jobs are very different. But as far as a piece of advice that a mentor has given me, know my numbers.
Know your numbers.
Yep, so you can have the best product or service in the world, and if you don't keep track of raw materials or numbers or cost or profit, loss, I mean, if you don't keep track of that, next thing you know, you're out of cash and you have no idea why you're out of cash. Oh, and always save cash. And whenever you can get cash, get the cash. Because, full disclosure, this pandemic, I had some cash, and I didn't have enough cash because what happened was the government, they purchased over 120,000 masks.
Oh, yeah.
They don't pay until at least 30 days after they receive the shipment. So I had to pay cash to get 100 and blah blah masks made out of my cash. And so I had to be very resourceful because I did not have enough cash in the bank to do that. But I'm like, hell or high water, I'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you gonna wait till you get your check on taxes and then just 30 days afterwards?
Exactly.
When do you have a question?
Oh no,
I guess with the ever evolving with your new products and things like that, where do you see Accel going in the future? Is there something that you want to promote currently that you're working on, or you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so we, of course, most people know us as an apparel company. We started out with the t-shirts and tanks for men and women, and right before Corona hit, I was working on inventing leggings fabric that's antibacterial.
Nice.
And actually, Jess was asking me about shorts, before the interview, and so of course I'd want, like, for men's shorts, like the underwear, the liner, if there is one, to be antibacteria. All that got put on hold because of masks. And so now basically we're going to have 2 companies. I'm talking to my attorney about how to structure it because I have no idea. But we're definitely going to have a Accel Health, I think we're going to call it. I probably shouldn't say that, I haven't trademarked it yet or whatever, but I live and learn. And so not only are we doing masks now, but we're doing isolation gowns for they're really needed in the hospitals and the dental industry. So we're working on an order right now for isolation gowns for a hospital network. They want 500,000 gowns. So really anything, even like the NCIS, they reached out because they bought a bunch of masks. They're like, hey, we ordered hand sanitizer and it was wipes and spray, disinfectant, back in March, and we haven't gotten it yet. This is 2 weeks ago. He's like, can you get some for us? I'm like, I sure can. If there is a paying customer and all they need is a product, we will find the product. And that's advice for everyone. Don't ever say no. If someone asks you for something, don't ever say no. Even if the answer is no, give them an alternative. I can't do it, but let me introduce you to someone that can. Because that person might come back to you 6 months from now, you were so nice to introduce me to someone, and then boom, they buy $1 million of things from you.
Yeah. There you go. That's fantastic advice. This is an advice column now.
Yeah, exactly. Send in your questions.
Yeah, right.
I guess we're kind of coming to the end here, and everything you've given, I love it. Your story's amazing, so thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Is there a failure or an experience that you had that was one of the best learning moments for you?
Yeah. So I remember when I went to college, born and raised Rhode Island, went to Virginia. I remember my parents drove me down in the minivan when freshman, and they were bawling their eyes out. I'm like, am I about to die? What's going on? They ended up telling me years later they were so nervous to drop me off at college because I was so trusting of people. And that's just my personality. And it still is. I see the good in it. I see the good in everyone. But now I'm more mindful of just not giving all of myself or all of my company until I get to know the person. But I always meet someone and just see the good. About 3 years ago, 3.5, I was working with a factory up in New Jersey. I'll drop a name. not the name of the factory, and they were making my sample fabric. At the time I didn't have a name for it, but Prima Fabric. And so I paid them for the samples and, you know, whatever. At this point, I had already filed for the patent. It's a PCT patent, 120 countries, whatever. I emailed the owner of the factory, who I've flown there and met with them, and copied the sales guy. And I basically said, you know, what's the name of the equipment that makes the single knit jersey, like whatever. And the sales guy writes back and he says, I don't know how you're gonna get a patent. He's like, you don't own the proprietary information. He's like, if you don't place an order, like a large volume order, basically immediately, we own your fabric and we're gonna sell it under our name. I am telling you what, it takes a lot to get me mad. And the last sentence, if your attorney has any questions, have him call me. And the first thing I wanted to be like, yo, my attorney's a female. But, you know, I didn't say, but, so anyway, I got off the phone, make a long story short, friends of friends that are attorneys here in Houston resolved it, threatened them, sent some letters, whatever. But legally, they had no leg to stand on. And so I wanted to burn the place down, making sure nobody was in there. That was like the Northeast coming out, of course. But what I learned is, from a business standpoint, send everybody an NDA. Like if you think that, like, oh, I trust this person, they're really nice, it's a friend of a friend, before you have any conversation about an idea, a service you want to provide, a product, get an NDA signed. And make sure it's not like an NDA you pulled off Google. Like anyone listening to this, just reach out to me on Facebook privately, and if you need an attorney to get an NDA, it's not expensive, but it could literally save your company millions, thousands. So yeah, piece of advice is always have that legal documentation signed up front. And because I got that advice from somebody, you know, they didn't sell my fabric.
Good. Screw 'em.
But man, woo-wee.
Baby,
I don't want to say anything bad about Jersey because I got family.
No, I'm a Northeasterner. I'm a Northeasterner, but woo-wee.
Well, perfect, Megan. Where can everyone find you, whether it be on social media? We know you're on TikTok.
No, I'm actually not on TikTok. So let's see. So Facebook is just Megan Eddings, Eddings. Accel Lifestyle, we're on Facebook, ACCEL Lifestyle. Instagram, same thing, Accel Lifestyle. My personal Instagram is MEGAN, the letter D, and then 1431. I like to post a lot of like funny things on there, and like dancing and just like whatever. My husband rebuilds Defenders, and so he just finished two of them, so I put videos up on that.
What is it?
Land Rover Defenders.
Oh, okay.
The way I describe it to everyone, like if they don't know, I'm like, it's like the SUVs that James Bond drives. But yeah, so I'm all over the place. Yeah, but thank you.
And if anyone wants to make an order for your amazing clothing,
I probably should give the website. Here I am like, oh, I dance a lot, you know, whatever. It's Accel Lifestyle, ACCEL Lifestyle.com.
Perfect.
And I can actually, and I'll attest, you know, I have 2 shirts now and all the masks, and you know, it's an amazing product. I mean, amazing. I actually went a week and a half without washing my shirt just to see if my wife would know, because she didn't believe it.
Yeah.
She did not know whatsoever.
Nice.
So it's an amazing product. So I mean, thank you
it's
so
antibacteria
much.
fabric,
awesome.
and thank you. You were one of the first ones to get the flag shirt.
Yeah,
the Stars, Stripes, and Stamps.
As soon as it came out, I was waiting.
Yeah.
Got it.
We're actually doing something fun around 4th of July this year as it relates to
really?
flags and stuff. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's perfect. Well, everyone, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. Get this amazing clothing. Provide it for your significant other, your family, that stinky guy friend.
Totally. Yeah. Everyone has at least one.
Ladies, give it to your stinky guy friend that really needs it. Just a little piece of the sneaky advice.
Yeah. Early birthday gift.
Perfect. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much.
All right, perfect. This is where we're going to end. Bye-bye, everyone.
Woo!